Welcome back, everybody, to Minechats. Sorry about my lighting; it's kind of garbo. If you haven't seen my new Skyrim video, I have moved, so I hope to fix the lighting. And also, it might be a little noisy. There might be people in the background. I apologize in advance if that is the case. There is no fix for that. Not right now, anyway. I don't know how to talk and play Minecraft at the same time, as established in the previous video. But I do see that I am hungry and I have no food, so I think I'm going to start there. So today's goal is going to be finding diamonds, and today's topic is going to be jobs and careers. I should have reread the comment and shouted out the person. I'm just going to put it on screen right now. So this is what we are talking about. I'm pointing right. No, I'm not pointing at it because I'm in the box. Now I'm pointing at it. Maybe it's a little down though. It's maybe down there a little bit. I don't know if you can see my finger. So basically jobs, careers, that sort of thing. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to have a job? That's what we're going to be discussing. Fuck, dude. I need pig meat. I need pig meat in my mouth. So I am going to be speaking only through my experience when I talk about this. Really, when I talk about anything, right? Here's chickens. So yeah, and I live in the United States, so it is going to be sort of a US-centric take on this. Yeah, let's put the chicken in the oven. So I was fortunate enough to know what I want to do. Obviously it changed slightly. When I was a child, really young, I thought I want to be a game designer. Around middle school, I thought I want to be a comedian. In high school, I thought I want to be a screenwriter. And now I've settled on filmmaking. I want to be a writer-director. And so you can see that there's a clear escalation there. I always knew I wanted to do something creative. I just had to figure out where exactly I think I would direct that, and then fuck me. And then I landed on filmmaking. I want to be a filmmaker. More iron. I wonder if my grandma's getting picked up. She's literally screaming right now. I moved in with my grandma. Unfortunately for me, my career choice is not the easiest to get into. There's no real clear path to do it, which is why I'm always broke and sad. Although, dude, stay tuned. I am going to attempt to make a feature film with no budget. Maybe a micro budget. I don't know. I haven't decided quite yet. It's going to either be a micro budget or a no budget. I remember we said we'd come back here in this case. Yeah, so a no budget or a micro budget film. I want to start production on that by the end of the year, and hopefully it'll be done early next year. Possibly even the end of this year. There's an Enderman nearby. Oh, there's an Enderman right there. Let's try and kill it. He did not put up a fight at all. Did you guys see that shit? I bet there's diamonds somewhere in here. We'll have to come back. I do not like roaming around without torches. There are a lot of people, unlike me, that don't know what they want to do. I always thought if I were in that position, what I would do is probably figure that out. It sounds simple, it sounds obvious. It sounds, one of those things that's way easier said than done. But I think a lot of people are conditioned to just immediately out of high school. Okay, so my microphone got to be so bad that I've decided that I'm going to do a voiceover on some of the parts that got really bad, and I've also decided that I'm going to buy a microphone before I record my next video, which means it might be a bit longer before I get my next video out. A lot of people immediately out of high school go to college, get a degree, and try to find a well-paying job, but people don't tend to give themselves the time to figure out what kind of job would be the most fulfilling to them. Now, I've been fortunate enough to always know what I wanted to do to a certain extent, so I can't really put myself in the shoes of someone that doesn't. But I'm pretty confident that I would probably think, okay, I hate working jobs. Jobs suck. I don't want to spend the rest of my life hating my life. And I recommend, if that hasn't occurred to you, I recommend figuring that out. Just don't go to school immediately. Okay, if school's free, that's one thing. Like, if you get free school, there's no harm in going to school. Maybe it'll help you figure out what you want to do, but also maybe not, because then you're going to be under the pressure of school. You're trying to be worried about your grades. Okay, buddy. You're going to be worried about your grades. You're going to be under pressure. Maybe you don't have time. Holy cow. Holy hell. Okay. We found a ravine. We're going to go back to the base so that I can really tuck away my valuables and also bring back a bunch of torches.
Alright, it got fucky again. So what I'm saying here is if you go to school, you might not have the time and the energy to find what you want to do because you'll be busy with school and such. But if school's free, the worst thing you could lose is time, which sucks.
But, you know, it's not the end of the world. And we're sleeping. Cheers. Not sponsored.
Voiceover time. So I don't recommend going to school if you don't know what you're going to do. Culturally speaking, we pressure our youth into going to school, but I've known people that have gone to school and not get a good job. I know people that wish they hadn't gone to school and now they're in debt. A lot of people go to school with the intention of getting a job that they can tolerate. You know, a lot of people think, well, I don't like work, but I've got to get a job. But now you spend the rest of your life tolerating something. Personally, I would rather be poor and fulfilled than well paid and miserable.
Our culture just revolves around money. I'm not saying anything revolutionary here or something that, you know, not a lot of people already don't know, but you know, you have to consider that, and that's why we feel these things. That's why we feel pressure to go to school. That's why we feel pressure to get a good job. It's because our culture revolves around money. And we have to be self-aware about that, and we have to realize that that might not be the best way to live a fulfilling life. So what I would recommend to people is figure out what you would do if money wasn't a problem. If you had unlimited money, what would you spend your time on? You know, like, what would you just naturally do? And then figure out how to monetize that. How can you make a living doing that thing? And, you know, it's obviously a case-by-case basis, so I can't give you blanket advice on how to do that, but
a few moments later.
I guess what I'm trying to say, baseline, is fuck the system, right? Fuck the system. Don't live by it. Do not live by it. Do not buy into this idea that you need to provide your soul and your back-breaking efforts for somebody higher up. Just don't do it. There are ways to get around stuff. If you are in Oregon, because I reside in Oregon, and I had recently got fired from GameStop, and I filed for unemployment, got unemployment, but then I filed for this thing that Oregon has, and I'm pretty sure a few other states have as well. I'm not you might want to check if it's your state, right? Called self-employment assistance, and I have signed up for self-employment assistance. So the state of Oregon is currently paying me to start a business. What I put down is filmmaking. You know, like I told them, like, I am trying to be a filmmaker right now, a freelance filmmaker. That is my job. And they have you write like a business plan saying you're going to do this, this, and that. This is how you're going to go about achieving your goals. And then they'll pay you like you have unemployment, but they'll pay you for working towards starting a business. Now, the catch is that you have to have unemployment first. So you have to qualify for. I'm sorry, these are noisy motherfuckers. If I can just build a little bridge to the water, I can go up and down the water. I'm a genius. Okay, I'm gonna retreat back to home base again, and then we'll come explore this ravine. The catch is that you have to qualify for unemployment first, which I think is a bit silly. I think you should be able to quit your job and get onto self-employment assistance. But, you know, that's me in an ideal, happy-pappy world. We live in a capitalist hell. If you are able to qualify for unemployment, then you can probably qualify for self-employment assistance. And if you don't qualify for unemployment right now, and you don't think you're gonna, I would recommend next time Spirit Halloween is in town, get a job there. Wait till the... These golden boots are lasting, actually, so that's cool. I think there's a freaking creeper outside. Yeah, this is the worst place it could be. Get over here, come on, over here. to lose it. Yeah, okay. So if I die, I don't lose all that much. So yeah, get a job at Spirit Halloween. Wait till the season ends, then you'll be let go. Then you now qualify for unemployment, which then can be used for self-employment assistance, if your state allows it. Now that's just one way out of a bazillion ways to go about achieving your, you know, dream job, right? It's going to be different for everybody. And obviously, if you want a job, like the job of your dreams requires school, like go for it. I'm just saying, don't go to school until you know exactly what it is you want to do. Don't make the mistake of like, oh, I kind of know what I want to do a little bit. Maybe if I go to school for the field I want to be in, I'll know exactly what I want to do. And maybe you will. Maybe that will happen. But I think a lot of the time what would happen there is you don't. And then you go to school and then you guess. So yeah, I would recommend just waiting. Just waiting. Live life a little bit. I think that's also very important, is to just live your life. Go out and do new experiences. Actually, because you need time to figure out who you are as a person and what your skills and interests would best allow you to do. All right, creeper arena. Oh my god, dude. That was epic, guys. Guys, that was epic. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Don't... Oh, fuck.
My main point is to not get a job that you can tolerate. Instead, get a job that you love. And then I go on to talk about the phrase YOLO. You only live once. And I talk about how I don't say it personally, and I also think it's a cringe phrase, but there is some wisdom to be had in there. I don't think a lot of people truly grasp the fact that you only live once. Like, this is your life, and then that's it. And then I go on to talk about, well, some people believe in heaven, hell, reincarnation, but the fact remains the same, that you only have one life as you on this planet. And you want your life to be the best that it can be. And you have free will, believe it or not. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to live by a system that benefits someone wealthier instead of, living your best life with your free will. And then I went on to acknowledge that there are a lot of creepers in this cave. And I expressed my gratitude for the lava killing the creepers.
Try to fully grasp the fact that you have one life and realize that you need to do everything in your free will to make sure that you are happy living it. Oh, I hope that fucking dog isn't being picked up. I swear, I live in a noise house now. I just want everybody to know this. I live in a noise house, so all of my videos are gonna be like, are gonna have some sort of background noise, I imagine. I guess we can talk about my work experience, everything I've done. So when I was in middle school, I started landscaping. Way back in the 7th grade. It was mostly just mowing lawns, touching up lawns, stuff like that. We had a few bigger projects as well, like installing turf, cutting up trees, like we did a lot of landscaping. And I did that with my cousins. Obviously no official landscaping company would have hired a 7th grader. So yeah, it was a family business. And I did that until I was 18, and then in a desperate attempt to get out of my uncle and grand's house because I was not doing well living there. Oh, I should have made another soul. I didn't expect it to go by this terribly fast. I got up. Oh. I got into contact with a temp agency where I worked a couple temp jobs. My first official job was working at a t-shirt factory where I was in the. I worked 3 different jobs. I worked the job I worked the most was the dryer. So I would take printed shirts off of the dryer and then fold them and organize them. I forget how exactly I organized them, but I had to put them in like different little piles. And you had to be really fast at that job. Like, if it was busy, like if it was like slow, it was easy. But if it was busy, you had to like rip those shirts off and fold them like super fast. That was a 12-hour job. It was either 5 to 5 or 5:30 to 5:30. I forget which exactly. Not that it really matters. 12 hours was a lot. The other 2 jobs I did there was packaging the shirts to be sent out, and the last couple weeks I was like the last week or so I was there. They had me taking the shirts. They had me taking blank shirts to send to the printers to be printed on. It was a 12-hour job, so I actually only worked 3 days a week, which sounds nice, but like by the time those 3 days up, like I had 4 days off. Like that first day I was already dreading going back. Like it was such a terrible job that 4 days wasn't enough. Remember this, boys. There's an Enderman here. There's 2 Endermen here. They're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me. They're actually gonna kill me. They're actually gonna kill me. They actually killed me. We didn't lose a whole lot. And it's nighttime. I'm gonna sleep. I think by the time I get down there, it's gonna be gone anyway. So I'm just gonna cut my losses. I have so much iron that I'm just gonna remake everything. When that job ended, because it was a temp job, I only want one of those. Sorry. Boom, 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 boom. This is why it's good to have a bunch of iron, so you can just die and forget about it. Then I worked at a place that was like a line factory, where like it was like an assembly. There was no like conveyor belt. It wasn't that cliche, but you know, it was like a conveyor belt of people. You would like pass it down, and part of that job was like soldering wires, which was pretty cool. The first couple times I did it, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. But obviously that does not last very long. You quickly go back to, oh my god, I hate my life. I got fired from that job because I was falling asleep. And they couldn't have it. I had a friend working with me. We weren't friends before. I mean, I did have a friend that got the job with me, but I made a friend there. He told me when I was falling asleep right before they called me into the office that I was working. I was like asleep, but I was still working. I was still soldering wires, and I was. He was like, "Caleb, are you awake? Caleb, are you awake?" And I'm like, I like I don't remember falling asleep. I do remember working. I was like sleepwalking. I was sleepwalking. Isn't that fucking crazy? Anyway, after that, I got a job spinning a sign for a tax company. I would dress up like the Statue of Liberty, and I would stand out by the street and dance for a couple hours, and that job was really fun. A couple hours is not a lot of time. It is a lot of time when you are constantly dancing around and moving. Like it was a 2-hour shift. I was exhausted by the end of it because it's very physically active. But it was fun. I enjoyed it, and they actually paid me more than minimum wage, although a couple hours, regardless of how much they pay you, is not a lot of money. You know, I was working 2 hours, 3 days a week. It was like, it wasn't meant to be like a sustainable job. I was renting a new apartment though, so I didn't need to find another job. So I got a second job working at an art store. They ended up letting me go because I didn't know jack shit about art. Customers would ask me questions like, "Oh, what do you recommend for this canvas? What do you?" And then I would say, "I don't know. Talk to my coworker." Apparently, I found out that the boss, big man, the boss, that owned the place, not necessarily the person that hired me, not the manager, but like the actual owner, wanted me on because he thought there was like a lot of handyman work to be done around the store. So I do remember I had a lot of jobs like that. Like they would have me fix the gutter, they would have me paint. I painted the building. they had me do this like really tedious organizing job. Like they just gave me all the odd jobs, and you know I was fine with it because it was my first real job in an air-conditioned room. So, but yeah, looking back, it wasn't a great job, and of course they let me go because I didn't know shit about the business, and that's fair. By the time I lost that job, I was actually already looking for a second job after the tax season had ended, and I ended up getting a job at a gas station, a Dynamart, and I spent 2 years there. And the first year was really fun. The customers loved me. I was a hoot and a holler, and actually I was kind of like a local celebrity in that part of the town. Like, oh my god, it's Caleb at Dynamart. Oh my god. It was a really cool job to work for the first year. The second year, that's when it started weighing on me. That's when I was like, oh my god, I'm not going anywhere. I hate my life. Everything sucks. The world is ending. And so I decided I'm gonna be homeless. I'm gonna get a car, and I'm gonna live out of that car, and I'm just gonna go travel the country. But I quit that job prematurely. I should have stayed there a bit longer than I did, but I was just so eager to get out. So then before I left on that road trip, on that homeless journey, I had to get another job at Jack in the Box, and that's where I worked there for 3 months. That was my first fast food job, and dear God, was that a nightmare. Oh my god, I totally skipped a job. I'll come back to it, but let's talk about Jack in the Box. You know, it's not the only fast food job I worked. There was another one that I'll get to later, but something I noticed a trend in both fast food jobs that I worked. They're understaffed, and they don't... Well, actually, you know what? I take it back. That is almost every minimum wage job I worked, is that they're understaffed. Almost every minimum wage job. Not all of them, but almost all of them, they just don't want to pay... They don't want to pay more people. They don't want to create jobs, and they just overwork people that they're paying the bare minimum. You know, it's like it's actually frustrating. But that's a topic for another time, I guess. But yeah, Jack in the Box was a nightmare. I remember they give you $8 for lunch. $8 can't get you jack shit there. Because I worked multiple shifts, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I remember one time for breakfast. Am I going the right? I'm going the opposite way. I'm sorry. I'm talking. I want to get back to that ravine. One time for my employee breakfast, I had 2 small Red Bulls. Because you can't actually afford anything with $8 there. And I was so sleep deprived. So I know I told you guys that, you know, I got fired from that one job because I fell asleep. I've struggled with some sort of undiagnosed sleep disorder for most of my life, and of course my health insurance doesn't cover a sleep study, so I have just been living with it, and it has caused me to have a dependency on caffeine. Like I literally cannot function without caffeine, and I know people say that to be quirky, but like for me it's like actually the case. Because when I sleep, I never wake up feeling rested, you know. I don't know if it's sleep apnea, I don't know if it's some form of insomnia, I don't know what it is. I've had multiple diets throughout the years, I've had multiple sleep schedules throughout the years, so I know there's been no been no change throughout any of that. Okay, I pissed off the internet. Didn't even drop me shit, bro. Didn't even drop me shit. At Jack in the Box, it was even worse though, because they scheduled me all 3 shifts. All 3 shifts. I worked mornings, I worked graveyard, I worked swings, I worked afternoons. I guess there was 4 shifts, but like, well no, because the afternoon shift went into the night shift, and the night shift was technically the graveyard shift. So yeah, there were 3 shifts. I worked all 3 of them on different days of the week, and it was because my manager wanted me to do the shipment, but then I don't know, honestly. I even requested, I talked to her about it. I'm like, hey, can I I can't develop a sleep schedule with this fucking, oh my god, get in the water. That was dumb. That was very dumb. I can't develop a sleep schedule with the way you're scheduling me. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'll fix that. And then she just didn't. Like, that just didn't happen. But I was there for 3 months, so I managed. But during my time there, during my time at Jack in the Box, there were 2 days in the 3 months. In the 3 months I worked there were 2 days that I stayed up over 24 hours. because of how fucked my schedule was. Like, that's not something I do. Like, I don't typically stay up 24 hours, so... Yeah, not a good time at Jack in the Box. And then, but yeah, I was there for 3 months. I was there just long enough to get a paycheck. Or not a paycheck, get a couple paychecks, buy a car, and then begin my homeless journey across the country. And I skipped over one. So I actually worked for a window washing company for a small period of time. That was between the art store and sign spinning. Because I worked for the sign spinners 2 years in a row. So yeah, I worked for a window washer company for a while, and that also sucked. Yeah, I'm not a morning person, so that was a morning job. Again, with all the sleep shit that I was dealing with. And at the time, I didn't know I had some undiagnosed sleep disorder. I thought being sleepy all the time, I thought that was normal for the longest time. It wasn't until like recently where I was like, oh, you know what, there's actually something wrong with me. Anyway, they fired me because... Well, they actually didn't fire me. They gave me an ultimatum, which was very fucked up. This zombie's wearing my shit, bro. Winning! I was cleaning the windows too slow, and then they told me to speed it up, so I did. And then they're like, okay, well, you're missing stuff now. Like, you're going too fast, you're missing stuff. So I then slowed it down a little bit, and they're like, okay, you're going too slow. And so then they were like... So then the guy literally said, I'm gonna stop paying you per hour, but based off performance, if you choose to stay with us.
But I had rent to pay. And also that ultimatum that was given to me was illegal, but I was young and I didn't really know anything about it or even what to do. Oh, and then I went on to comment about the mass amount of zombies in this cave, referring to it as an apocalypse.
I left that job. Technically I was fired, but I left that job. And that's when I got the job at the art store. And now we're going back to where I was talking about earlier. I don't know where I am. I'm just gonna start digging up. Okay, so now I'm homeless. I'm on the road trip. My buddy actually came with me for a while. He ended up leaving shortly after. We managed to get a job in Ridgefield, Washington, working at a Taco Bell. That was probably the funnest job I've worked in my life because all the managers were about my age. They were young. Became a bit of a local celebrity there as well because I would be the guy on the microphone and I would have a lot of fun with my job. I'd call everybody Buster. I worked there for a month and then we quit because we were going to go to the next place on the road trip. Of course, we didn't tell people that we were going to quit after a month, so we kind of just left them hanging. And of course, and then a lot of the managers there, which I would have considered friends at that point, would not speak to us. And it was a very heartbreaking moment for everybody involved. Anyway, then my buddy ends up leaving the road trip. So I had to take his ass all the way back to our hometown, which leaves me with no money. And now I'm stuck back in my hometown again. So I end up joining the... Oh, am I gonna make it? Yes. Okay, where am I? Okay, we're officially lost. I'm gonna get on high ground. I ended up joining the fair. I did that for a couple weeks. They don't pay you shit. Those fair workers that are like, hey, come play my game, like, you should play their game. They desperately need you to. I was only making enough to eat. It was like, I literally got $2 per customer. It was all commission, $2 per customer. So, when the fair ended up going to... Oh, there's my base. When the fair ended up going to farther north in California, I ended up just going to Eugene, Oregon, where I got a job at 7-Eleven, and that job sucked as well. It was very stressful. I'm gonna put some stuff up, and then I'm going to go back into the cave, and this time I am not going into the actual cave. I'm just gonna start mining around. Yeah, and so in Eugene, Oregon, I got a job at 7-Eleven. Around the same time I got that job, another 7-Eleven worker at a different store got shot and killed, and that was a very scary time of my life. Because the dude was on the loose for a few days, and I had shifts those few days, so it was just like, Yeah, that job sucked. It was super stressful. They expected way too much out of me. Like, again, they pay you minimum wage. They don't have you're there alone for your shift, and there are like thousands of responsibilities that you have to do all the time, and it's just like it's impossible. It's impossible. My boss was sweet. She bought me a cake when I said I was leaving. So after I left Eugene, I ended up back in Chico because my car broke down, and that's why I was in Eugene so long. I was in Eugene for 3 months because my car broke down. So then, yeah, I figured out it was going to cost way too much to get it fixed, more than a 7-Eleven wage. So I just went back to Chico, my hometown, and I was a door-to-door. No, that was my pickaxe. I was a door-to-door solar salesman for 6 months, and that was a pretty cool job as well, except it wasn't. The job itself sucked, but the company and the coworkers, my boss, all of that, like everything surrounding the company surrounding the job, that was awesome. That was a very cool experience. But yeah, people are terrible, the door-to-door salespeople. And then after that 6 months, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to Eugene, Oregon, because I've made a bunch of friends there, and I enjoyed it there. So I went back up to Eugene, Oregon, and then I got a job at the mall, Fuego. That was a laid-back, pretty chill job, but the curse eventually got to me. The curse of monotony and hating my job and hating my life and all that, so I left that job. I also worked at Spirit Halloween. How to get unemployment, right? I didn't do it that way because it was actually on my bucket list to work at Spirit Halloween. I enjoy going in there. The job itself was very boring, kind of sucked. It was alright. It wasn't the worst job I've worked. Definitely never work a place that you enjoy. It sucks the magic right out of it. But then I got another door-to-door job called Full Circle, which was an incredible company, I felt like I was actually doing good working that job because it was a farm-to-table program. So it would have a bunch of local organic farmers, and they would deliver stuff in boxes. You would order online. It's a really cool service. I would check it out. There's like a California branch. I forget what it's called, but in the Oregon area, it's called Full Circle. It's a very cool program, and I thought it would be an easy sell. I was wrong. People just hate door-to-door salesmen. It wasn't that I was selling solar. People just have so much sales resistance. I did get a lot more sales, but I also made a lot less money getting those sales. And I did hear a lot of people say like, oh, usually I hate door-to-door salesmen, but this is actually really cool. So shout out to the people that actually listened, actually heard me out, and didn't just write me off as a door-to-door salesman. By the way, the solar program was good too. Like, there are plenty of people that brushed off what I was selling as like a scam, but like, if you're in California and a door-to-door salesman comes here, there are some companies that were scams. The company I was working for, they are decent. If you can't afford to buy your own solar, the PPA, they offer a PPA program that essentially just swaps your energy bill for a solar bill, and then the rates don't climb up as high. Like, it's actually a good deal. Never write a door-to-door salesman off just because they're a door-to-door salesman. Like, I genuinely think you should listen to these people, see what they're selling. You can be skeptical all you want, but like to just like shut them down is just ridiculous. I would never go door-to-door selling something I didn't believe in. The goal of this episode was to find diamonds. I am not liking my odds of doing that in a reasonable time frame. So yeah, Full Circle was cool, and then but I was not hitting the quota that they wanted, so I decided to go off and get another retail job instead of a sales job. I did not learn my Spirit Halloween lesson, alright, like working someplace that you enjoy going to, because I decided that I was going to go get another job on my bucket list, which was GameStop. I loved going to GameStop as a child. It was the store. It was the store, No other store compared to GameStop. It was a magical experience. So I decided to get a job there. It is not the same. It is not. GameStop, terrible company. Absolute dog shit company, to be honest with you guys. Now, I did meet a lot of cool people there. So I don't regret working the job, but it's also a sales job. It's not just a retail job. You don't get any commission for sales. It's they expect you to sell stuff for them with no benefit, just minimum wage. On top of that, it's everything that a retail job is included. So you still have to deal with the retail pressures. It's it's terrible. It is a terrible company. Absolutely fuck GameStop. Fuck GameStop. I mean, I could honestly sit here and bitch about GameStop. I'm not going to because I'm trying to leave it behind me. But I also don't regret working GameStop because I wasn't hitting a sales quota. It's funny, I was missing a sales quota, thought I was going to go get an easier job, a retail job, and then I also got let go of that job because I wasn't hitting a sales quota. That's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, so wasn't hitting the GameStop sales quota. So I decided to, and if you're curious what that is, they want you to sell a certain amount of pro memberships, a certain amount of warranties, a certain amount of, so and so and so. So, when you don't ever get mad at a GameStop employee for really trying to sell you stuff because, like, I'm proof that you can lose your job for not hitting that, which is it's just absolutely insane. Like, it's just a shitty company. And unless I missed one, I believe those are all the jobs that I've ever worked, because after I got fired from GameStop, that's when I got unemployment, which led to self-employment assistance, which is what I'm on right now. Pursuing a filmmaking career. I actually have a PA gig on a film set coming up sometime in New Orleans, which I'm very excited. I never actually made it out of the West Coast when I thought I was going to go travel the country. I've been to 2 different states. Well, I mean, California doesn't count because I started in California, but I went to Washington and Oregon. I've never been outside of the West Coast, so I'm really looking forward to this experience. Anyway, yeah, that is my thoughts on jobs in general. Okay, more gold, no diamonds. Yeah, I honestly don't know what to talk about more so when it comes to jobs and careers and education. I did see this meme the other day that's all like, those "why do we need to learn this" kids grew up to be the "why didn't we learn this in school" kids. And I'm not saying there's any overlap, but I am both of those, and I understand that that's what the meme was saying, that I grew up to be that. But like, the difference is, like, why are we taught different kinds of rocks, but we're not taught how to do our taxes from scratch? Why did I have to take French, but I was taught nothing about the stock market? Cursive is one of those things that they taught me in school, and a lot of people are like, they don't teach kids cursive in school no more. I learned cursive in school. I was in 4th grade, and I was thinking to myself, this is terrible. Why do I need to learn this? Why do I ever need to learn cursive? And I tried. I did my freaking best, but I just could not get the hang of cursive. I just couldn't. And I remember I was struggling with it, and I was sitting in a classroom doing it, and then, my teacher asked me to stay, and then when my grand came to pick me up, they had like a talk about it. I didn't hear them because I was in the corner trying to practice my cursive, because we were moving on. We were past the cursive part in school, and I was still just struggling with it. And the teacher just pulled my grand aside and was talking to her about it, and then the next thing I knew, I didn't have to worry about it. My teacher was just like, yeah, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. And that just goes to show how fucking useless it is, They don't teach kids cursive anymore because they don't want them to know what the Constitution says. But, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Even if I knew cursive, I'm still looking at translations. Like, if I go to look up what the Constitution says, I'm going to Google and I'm searching it up, and it's going to be written in plain text. And if it's not written in plain text, even if I decided I'm going to go see the actual Constitution to check for myself that everything there is, like, factually true, what's stopping them from replacing it? I think if schools are no longer teaching us cursive, it's because it's fucking useless. And I'm down to have this discussion. Tell me why in the comments if you think that we need to learn cursive for some other reason, because genuinely I don't see a single reason we need to learn. My pickaxe is gonna break again. Yeah, you know what? Oh, gang, we found it. Okay, so when I say find diamonds, I really mean 3 diamonds. I need at least 3 diamonds. So hopefully that is what this is, because 3 diamonds is what's gonna get me. 3 diamonds is what's going to get me a diamond pickaxe. Oof. which is of course going to allow me to mine obsidian, which of course is going to allow me. Okay, I want to make sure everything surrounding these diamonds is not lava, because I am not going to risk these diamonds going into lava. I'm only seeing 2 diamonds, gang. Gang, it's only 2 diamonds. I'm gonna run and put it into for safekeeping. Dude, oh my god, we found it. Is it just 1? I mean, it's fine if it is, we only need 1. I'm gonna make this diamond pickaxe, and that is going to conclude today's episode. Bam, baby. Alright. I hope I talked about everything that you wanted me to talk about, commenter. I'm out of here. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna end on, yeah.